Tony Perkins of the Family Research Council has an interesting theory for how ISIS has gained the foothold that it has in the Middle East. Listen to him on his radio program.
Where there is no vision, the people perish. Hello, I'm Tony Perkins with the Family Research Council in Washington. Americans have been shocked to see the brutality and barbarism of the Islamic militants of ISIS, and they've been stunned by the revelations that radicalized Americans have joined their ranks and taken up their cause. Pundits and politicians alike have publicly pondered the question as to how young Americans can be sucked into such an evil venture. While it may be troubling, the answer is not hard. Radical secularism that has driven the defining characteristics of our Western culture, our Judeo-Christian heritage from our schools, our entertainment, and even our government has left in its place a void, a vacuum. And we should know from experience that a vacuum will be filled by something. Without a creedal vision that a society can unify around, the people, the nation, will perish. Unless we are content to allow ISIS or some other radical belief system to fill the void left by secularism, we must rediscover America's founding, Christ-centered vision.
So yes, there's this spiritual void. I mean, that's why, after all, so many American citizens are going to fight for ISIS. First of all, it's like 100 to 130. I don't care about the 100 to 130. There are going to be psychos that will fight for any cause. There are any number of insane right-wing militias that are a testament to that. There are white supremacist groups. There are the Minutemen going down to guard the border against them damn Mexicans. There are crazy people for every crazy cause, so I'm not going to worry too much about them. But his entire theory that it's the fact that there's not enough Christianity in the world that's leading to people adopting these insane ideologies. First of all, I would argue that Tony Perkins' ideology is perhaps one of the most widely followed insane ideologies. It has led people to crazy policy positions, both in America and in a number of other countries, and they've certainly tried to export it through their missionary work to get countries in Africa to institute the death penalty for homosexuality, things like that. But let's go beyond that. The idea that secularism is leading to this void that makes people fall to these extremist ideologies, look, he's supposed to be crazy. I get that. But I hope to reach a few Christians who would listen to a Tony Perkins. Hopefully, please listen to me for just a minute. The problem with Iraq and the Middle East and the other countries where these young men are going to groups like Al-Qaeda or ISIS or Boko Haram or any number of other organizations like this is not a surplus of secularism. First of all, almost every one of these countries is at the very least as religious as the most religious evangelical parts of America, if not more religious. They have one of these traditional religious systems that they can go to. That is not the problem. The problem is a combination of a couple different things. One, it's the lingering religious beliefs that they have and the traditions that are wrapped up in their religion. But perhaps much more importantly, it's as far back as you can look, terrible economic situations that lead to few job opportunities. Many of these men either can't be independent because they don't have the job to support themselves and a wife. They can't get married because of that combined with the traditions. They have too much time on their hands because of that. They see no legitimate out or way to advance in their society, which, look, there's a lot of reasons for that. I don't think that America is primarily the problem. I would blame the British more, perhaps, over the past 100, 150 years or longer. It's that, combined with their views on sexuality, I would say, and it's the constant military invasions and strikes against their country that make it all too easy to pitch to these men that it is the West and primarily America that is the great enemy, the great Satan. When you see our bombs fall and kill their family members, when we send in special forces, or when we launch, cruise missiles against their countries, how hard is it to make the case to these young men that you need to organize and you need to wrap yourself up in their equivalent of the American flag, Islam, and especially extremist Islam? If you are a crazy conservative, you may not see yourself that way, but if you're a crazy conservative, if you're a crazy religious conservative in America, imagine if ISIS was to launch cruise missiles against sites in America, or they were to fly a bomber and drop bombs in America. You're already trying to organize against them. How much easier would your job be to get people to follow your cause if, a few dozen Americans every month or so were dying as a result of ISIS missiles here domestically? It would be far easier. So you don't need to go to all of these the crazy theological gymnastics, the metaphysical theories for why ISIS is gaining a foothold. It's much simpler than that. Occam's razor. Use that when possible. The military situation, the economic situation, they make it all too easy. And also, I mean, the fact that there hasn't been secularism in most of these parts of the world makes it hard, I think, to make the case that secularism is the problem. No. It's not that there's a lack of rational thought, a lack of logic, a lack of science and adherence to the scientific method. I think that region would do well to experiment with that, as they did a long time ago during the Dark Ages when Europe and other Christian countries, they were wrapping themselves in religion, while the Muslim world was interested in discovery and mathematics and astrophysics and things like that, trying to learn more about the world. No, I would like the Muslim world to readopt that view of the world, that approach to the world. I think that would do a great job of stimulating their economy, producing a self-sustaining economy and more jobs that would take away the necessity for young men to feel like terrorism and military conquest and things like that are their only avenue for advancement economically or socially in the world. Tony Perkins, of course, has not considered any of that, doesn't know anything about the military or economic history of that region. Hopefully he will watch this video and learn at least a little bit, and it will inspire him to go out and learn far more before he flaps his lips on his little Family Research Council radio program.